breaking news as it happens. You're listening to Kevin McCullough Radio.
Well, there's no doubt about it that in the day in which we live and in the election cycle that's just in front of us, there's increasingly need to pay attention to some of the big issues, but some of them may be considered a bit more niche, issues that affect swaths of the population as opposed to the whole population. And one of the things that, if you listen to me for any length of time, that you know I care very strongly about is not only the state of Israel, but the plight of my Jewish friends around the world. And as we have watched, particularly in Brooklyn and in the New York boroughs, the rise of anti-Semitic attacks, unprovoked anti-Semitic attacks, and when we have seen on the legislative level anti-Semitism be embodied in the BDS movement and other things that have come to our attention, it is really important, I think, that we have clarity on what we're dealing with. And so along those lines, a few years ago, my bride and I were very honored to get to attend a dinner in which I met my next guest. And we immediately hit it off and have not had her on the show lately, but she runs an incredible 501c3 that is focused on just some of these issues and doing so in a way that magnifies them in greater detail and with greater thoroughness than just your average news reports. So Brooke Goldstein, who is the founder and the executive director of the Lawfare Project, .org. Welcome back to Kevin McCullough Radio. It's good to have you back.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I think since the last time we spoke on the radio, you've had, 2 kids? So it's been a little while since then. And
time flies, though.
Yeah, it does. Well, and so I guess, and the reason I bring that up is because I know that in my own parenting, when I began to have children and advocate for the things that I advocate for on the air, in our culture and so forth, they seem to take on a deeper and more profound meaning, because it wasn't just that I was advocating for a position anymore. I'm advocating for the future of my children and what world they will inherit. So give us a little bit of a thumbnail sketch of what the Lawfare Project is and why you are passionate about what you're doing and what you do hope to do, benefiting your kids and others as the years go by.
Well, thanks, Kevin. So, going off what you said about kids, absolutely. I mean, we're all doing what we're doing because we want a better world for our children. And as a Jew, who obviously is very aware of history, I would say even recent history, and who has Holocaust surviving grandparents, it's quite scary to me what we're seeing. And there's definitely an uptick in anti-Semitism, not just abroad, but here in the United States. And so I've dedicated my career not just to raising awareness about what is the world's oldest hatred against the world's oldest ethnic minority community, but also going on the offense and fighting it. I grew up with stories really of both victimhood and fighting back. My grandmother was a survivor of 5 Nazi concentration camps and labor camps, and my grandfather was a partisan who fought. He was one of the only Jews who fought in the Polish partisan unit. And I've really dedicated myself to making sure that my community no longer plays victim, and we enforce our rights, like every other community in this wonderful country, to equal protection under the law. So I established in 2010 the Lawfare Project, which is now, again, 10 years in the running, up and running. We run the world's only Jewish civil rights litigation fund. We have filed over, I think it's now almost 80 civil rights actions in 16 different jurisdictions around the world. We have recruited almost 400 lawyers from top law firms. We work with over 37 major international law firms, and we have brought some of the most seminal and groundbreaking civil rights cases on behalf of the Jewish community. One case, for example, right now we're litigating, we have sued the French government on behalf of an Israeli wine company, Psagot Winery, and it's now being heard before the European Court of Justice, arguing against the discriminatory treatment of Israeli imports, of wine imports into Europe, which are labeled if they are produced by Jewish Israeli producers as coming from, quote, Israeli colonies, if they are using any type of labor or if they are located in the so-called disputed territories, whereas products being produced by Muslims or Christians living in the exact same area are labeled or are directed, supposed to be labeled as coming from Palestine. So this type of discriminatory treatment, which is so blatant based on someone's religion, is something that we find extraordinarily abhorrent, especially in the 21st century. So we brought a claim on behalf of Segot Winery with the French government, and we're anticipating a decision from the European Court of Justice. And the reason why I mention this, and it's so important, because we are seeing right now the resurgence of the exact type of practices that preceded World War II.
Right.
Now, I don't want to sound alarmist, but when you are labeling Jewish persons and Jewish products, when you are promoting the boycott of Jewish products and treating products coming from Israel, the world's only Jewish state, differently than products coming from any other disputed territory, Crimea, Russia, countries with human rights violations, Iran, China. This is obvious bigotry and anti-Semitism, and it's exactly what we were set up to fight.
Yeah. Well, and I appreciate that thumbnail sketch, because I want people to get involved with you if this strikes a chord with them and they say, hey, I see this stuff going on, but I don't know where to turn my efforts and my time and my focus to. The lawfareproject.org, thelawfareproject.org. You can get all the information, including information on the case that she was just talking about. And I feel badly about this Segot case, because on my very first trip to Israel, I got to spend some time in the Judea and Samaria area, and I had lunch at the Segot Winery, and man, was it just a beautiful afternoon. It's just wrong, and I'm thankful that you're fighting the good fight on that, and all the cases that you haven't. I mean, 350 attorneys worldwide. Brooke, I think the last time we spoke, you didn't have half that assembled. So this is really, you've really done well, and you're continuing to do that. And sadly, you're exactly right. Historically speaking, the context of the fabric that we're living in right now, these troubling tendencies are starting to pop up, and we need to do all we can to fight them. Kevin McCullough, she's Brooke Goldstein. She's going to stay with us bonus time on this Friday edition because we want to turn our attention to more of the 2020 race and some of the other things that are still needing to be discussed as it pertains to how Israel is being treated in the world today. I'm Kevin McCullough. Don't go anywhere. Governor Mike Huckabee also on the way. Stay with us. Hi, Kevin McCullough. You know, you've helped build MyPillow into an amazing company that it is right now. Mike Lindell, the inventor, CEO, wants to give back to you for doing that, being part of that process. And that's why he's offering great discounts on all MyPillow products if you go to MyPillow.com right now and click on the radio listener specials. Get deep discounts on MyPillow's mattress toppers, bed sheets, and so much more. I've got all of them. I love them. For example, Mike's offering a buy one, get one free offer today on MyPillows. You can also pre-order Mike's book, What Are the Odds? From Crack Addict to CEO. And you'll get $10 off with promo code KMC and free shipping on your entire order. Remember, all MyPillow products come with a 60-day money-back guarantee and a 10-year warranty. So just go to MyPillow.com and click on the radio listener specials for the buy one, get one free MyPillow offer. Enter promo code KMC or call 800-506-2641 for these great specials. That's 800-506-2641. Hi, Kevin McCullough. You noticed it was nearly summer-like the beginning of this week. And then you know what? In a couple of days, it's going to be awfully cool again. Back and forth through Indian summer, we will have this. And here's the issue. When I was a kid, I used to survive that kind of weather by getting seasonal chronic bronchitis. It would just mess with my sinuses, my chest. I'd have a cough. Sometimes I would be so sick I'd have to stay home from school. But the beauty of it is that about 4.5 years ago, I got my last round of seasonal bronchitis and haven't had it since. You know why? Because I've been getting the nutrition I need from the fruits and veggies that are now pumping into my system every single day. See, fruits and vegetables are loaded with what are called phytonutrients, and they help fight disease at the cellular level all through your system. And right now, Balance of Nature, the maker of fruits and veggies in capsule form, have a great offer of 30% off on the discount, plus a free shipping for your first preferred order. And between now and the end of September 30th, they will give you 30% off your order and free shipping. Do not miss this unique offer, and be ready for that seasonal, allergy, bronchitis, sinus stuff that you just want to get rid of. 800-246-8751, 800-246-8751, or go to balanceofnature.com and make sure you use our discount code, KMC.
Decision 2020. America at the crossroads. Freedom versus socialism. American values versus global elitism. The presidential election that will define our nation for decades to come. Exclusive coverage now on Kevin McCullough Radio.
Well, the BDS issue, the issues facing Israel, the issues facing this global increase of anti-Semitism, certainly going to be on the presidential docket. It already is. And Brooke Goldstein, who is speaking with us now and in the capacity of herself as a private citizen, not on behalf of the Lawfare Project, rejoins us. And, Brooke, it is troubling that the issue of anti-Semitism, to the degree that we are seeing it play out on our TV screens day in and day out, has reached such, kind of a fevered pitch. And I don't know, historically that means bad things, but how widespread is the problem from where you sit?
This is why I find it so troubling, where you have the extreme left, the extreme right, and now the mainstream, with the New York Times, for example, running not one but two anti-Semitic cartoons who don't agree on anything, these prongs, but they're all converging on one thing, which is Jew hatred. We have a problem. And when I say we, I don't mean the Jews. I mean we as a Western democracy and a free people.
Right.
Because if history has shown us anything, the Jews, are just the first. When you have rising anti-Semitism, it's a sign of rising radicalism, anti-Americanism, fascism. And so this is something that everybody should be concerned with, because it starts with the Jews. It never ends with the Jews.
Talk to us about some of the things that you're observing and seeing, and that you'd really like people to understand about what about what not only they're telling us, but maybe how that might differ from what some of them actually have participated in.
Sure, and I appreciate you mentioning the separation. I do want to reiterate that now I'm taking off my lawfare hat and speaking in my personal capacity. We have a very alarming rise of anti-Semitism in the Democratic Party, and especially from those who want to be our next president. I mean, if you just look at the facts, and I wrote this out in my FoxNews.com op-ed.
Recent editorial, yeah.
Right. So, for example, besides Bernie Sanders, who I had alluded to, tapping Linda Sarsour, you have Senator Elizabeth Warren, who actually hired as her director for, I think it's called Progressive Partnerships, someone who openly supports Hamas, a designated terrorist group that has murdered not just Israeli civilians, but American civilians. There is something very, very wrong with that. Okay, and people like me, who I'm not wedded to either party, I have voted for both parties, but when I see this happening, and those who are democratically elected officials basically making a decision, a calculated decision, that there will be no consequences if they tap these people for their campaigns, or they make outrageous statements like, for example, supporting BDS. Or even voting against a BDS bill. And I want to get a little bit into that. BDS is boycott, divestment, and sanctions. That's what they call it. What it really is the advocacy for unlawful commercial discrimination against persons because of their religion and national origin. Now, could you imagine if a bill was put before Congress that condemned discrimination against blacks or discrimination against Muslims? Obviously, nobody would dare vote against it. But a bill was put before Congress that condemned discrimination in a commercial context against Jews, and 16 Democratic House members recently voted against this legislation, including, obviously, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, and AOC. what kind of message does that send, not just to the Jewish Americans, but to Americans in general, that these are members of Congress who will refuse to uphold basic anti-discrimination law? Basic anti-discrimination law. Okay? So again, rising anti-Semitism has always been accompanied by other forms of radicalization and eventually the degradation of democracy overall. And that's exactly what we see in the support of this so-called BDS movement.
It's really troubling. And, Brooke, there's so much more that we need and can talk about. Please promise that you'll come back and not wait another 4 years or so to make it happen. But let's do it again soon.
Anytime. Thank you so much for having me, Kevin, and for your insight and your support and reporting on these issues. You are definitely one of a kind.
Absolutely. And friends, if you want more information, I sincerely encourage you to look into the Lawfare Project and to get involved on whatever level you can. If you can volunteer, if you can give money, whatever you feel like might be of best service to your passions as it relates to supporting this. But look it up at thelawfareproject.org. And you can follow Brooke on Twitter. She's a must-read on Twitter on all things related to this, at Goldstein Brooke with an E. Put the E on the end of Brooke. All right, Brooke Goldstein, thank you so much.